series opener last night. The Reds broke out the heavy lumber. Some guys that were waiting to cut loose. Bruce and Marlon Byrd. Another big night for Brian Pena. And Brandon Phillips, his first extra base hit of the year. As the Reds rolled in the opener 9-6, they try and make it back-to-back wins here tonight. And a picture-perfect weather night in downtown Cincinnati. We welcome you to Great American Ballpark. Game 2 of this 3-game series between the Brewers and the Cincinnati Reds. Hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh and Jim Day, I'm Tom Brenneman. We're delighted to have you with us for Reds baseball here on Fox Sports Ohio. And it's always a good night, seemingly always a good night, when tonight's starter, Johnny Cueto, gets a baseball.
Well, it always has a chance to be a very special night because Johnny, obviously one of those special pitchers in all of baseball that can simply dominate when he is on his game. And he has done exactly that against the Brewers when he gets them here at Great American Ballpark. 10 starts, a perfect 7-0 record, earned run average way down the low 2s, lots of strikeouts, very few walks. The Brewers have their hands full right now anyway, but when you put Johnny Cueto on the mound, especially the way he's throwing the ball right now, this could be a very special night for the Reds.
And Chris, let's go back to that 8th inning of the 1-1 game when Brian Price made the decision to stay with Cueto with a runner at third and 1 out.
Well, I really believe that you can count on one hand the number of pitchers in all of Major League Baseball who can rear back and throw harder when they want to or when they need to. And Cueto is on that list. He was dialing it up at 95 in that inning. All game long, he worked around 91, 92 miles an hour until he needed a little bit more. He put his foot down on the pedal, and there it was. Not too many guys could do that. Johnny Cueto is one special pitcher.
Now, the Reds had their hands full last week. The only game they lost was against the night starter, Kyle Lohse, who in his career has been great against the Reds.
Yeah, and he's a guy that really has reinvented himself a couple of different times. Right now, he's a guy that has to live on the corners. He's changing speeds. I mean, there are a couple of hitters in this lineup that he absolutely dominates, Todd Frazier being one of them. But there's other guys in there that have had some problems. I mean, have some ability to be able to hit Kyle Lohse, and we'll see if they're able to get the job done. He has to be on the knees on the corners, and if he is, he'll give Cueto a pretty good game tonight.
When we come back, Jim Day will tell the story of Brian Pena. Once again, getting lots of playing time due to those who are injured in front of him, and he's making the most of it. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio.
Only need a couple tonight with Cueto against Loach. 61 first pitch, halfway home, 58. Rounded third and headed for home. We're looking at 53 degrees. Temperatures a few degrees warmer than last night, but still on the cool side, especially near the end of the game. I've got a lot of emails. Tim, we want to see that swing in slow motion. Well, we got the WKRC slow-mo cameras going. Here you go. Enjoy the game on Fox Sports Ohio.
Tim, very nicely done.
We're on the field, and when Brian Paney became a Red, I'm not sure they expected him to be as valuable as he's turned out to be. Once again, filling in for Devin Mesoraco. And certain guys play well against certain teams, and the Milwaukee Brewers are one of those teams for Brian Paney. This season versus the Brew Crew, already 6 for 10, couple of doubles, 2 runs driven in, and 5 walks. This is while manning the pitching staff as well, and he is our T-Mobile game changer. Career versus the Brewers. It's not just this season, folks. 18 games, 396 average, 2 doubles, 2 home runs, and 9 runs driven in. He has been a very, very valuable member, not only on the field, but off it. Tonight, he'll be hanging the signs for that guy. Happy Johnny Baseball Day. The ace goes to the hill. Reds looking for their 2nd straight victory. Tom and Chris are up next.
Sports Ohio, brought to you by Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. By Chevy, check out their award-winning lineup only at your tri-state Chevy dealer. And by Skyline Chili, feeling good. It's Skyline time. Great American Ballpark, crowd rolling in on this picture-perfect night for baseball. And we look at the Brewers starting lineup under their manager Ron Remicky, presented by Lexus. Segura with Parra in left, brought back in the lineup, did not start the game last night. He's in right. Lynn having a rock-solid year in the cleanup spot. Aramis Ramirez, Logan Schaefer at 5 and 6. Maldonado, a rare start for Hector Gomez at second. Kyle Loesch on the mound. Johnny Cueto looking for win number 2.
Well, with that earned run average, you would figure that Johnny Cueto, out of his 4 starts, would have at least 3 wins, but the Reds have not given him a lot of runs with which to work. But he has always pitched well here at this ballpark against the Milwaukee Brewers, and we'll see if he's got one more game in him here this evening.
So here we go. Gene Segura, the Milwaukee shortstop, to lead it off. Cueto delivers strike one, says Rob Drake. Our home plate umpire. This one underway. Tim Timmons at first. Todd Tishner at second base. And Tim Wilkie down at third. Sharp one hopper right at Frazier. And Segura retired to start the ninth. We look at the Reds on defense, presented by Ford. And no changes from the starting eight that we saw here last night. Johnny Cueto over the last 2 seasons has made 25 starts in which he threw at least 7 innings while allowing 2 earned runs or fewer, and that is second only to Felix Hernandez of Seattle, who has 1 more of those. It's interesting to note that Cueto in the 25 starts has a 21-11 record. I mean, think about that for a minute. In 25 starts, you go 7 and allow 2 or fewer, and you lose 11 times. Hernandez has lost just 6 times, although Cueto has won 3 more times than Hernandez. 1-2 on Gerardo Parra. Parra started the game out in right field last night. And with Braun back in there, he'll man left field for game 2. Parra swung the bat well last night. He had 2 hits and 4 at bats, 2 doubles, and scored a run. Still 2-2 on Parra.
You know, if you've watched Johnny Cueto over the years, Tom, the way we have been able to do, you've noticed that he has made subtle changes in a lot of different things. You know, his windup is one thing, obviously not so subtle, but the other changes he's made, and now he's getting the ball to move more. He throws more two-seam fastballs at around 91, 92 miles an hour, tries to get ground balls. He's not so bent on getting a strikeout as he used to be when he first came to the major leagues. And he's shown himself to be more durable in the last few years.
And there a strike 3 called to Parra. Cueto thought he had him struck out on a fastball on the 2-2 pitch. Came back with a breaking ball, 3-2, and that's all for Parra.
I mean, here's a guy that can dial it up to 95 miles an hour, but here in the first inning on a 3-2 count, he's going to throw a breaking ball. That's how much confidence he has in his command. And he gets the top of the strike zone call.
Cueto now with 33 strikeouts in 29+ innings against just 5 walks. And here's Braun. Chases a breaking ball for strike 1. Braun off to a terrible start, much like this Brewer team, a franchise worst after 20 games. Only 4 wins. Braun at .226, his only home run came against the Reds in the 9th inning of a 6-0 game last Monday night in Milwaukee.
You know, Tom, this is one of the first nights that I can remember that it is difficult for the hitters to see the ball right from the very get-go. We'll talk about that when the Reds come up. Maybe hopefully they won't have as much problem seeing it.
In the bottom of the first inning, Brian Price in his starting lineup is presented by Meyer. Hamilton once again Cozart in the 2-hole. Votto batting third. Frazier, Bruce, and Brandon in the middle. Bird, Pena, Cueto the latter third. Against the guy who just dominated the Reds a week ago in Milwaukee, Kyle Lohse.
Well, that's really the only time he's dominated anybody so far this year, although he's etched himself a very fine major league career. For Kyle Lohse, this is start 399 of his major league career.
Billy fouls away the first pitch trying to bunt. Hamilton at 229, a home run, 2 runs batted in, a double, 2 triples, 13 stolen bases. Lohse retired the first 9 he faced in the game last Thursday in Milwaukee before Hamilton had a single. And the only 2 Reds runs, they had a total of 3 hits, and 2 of those came in their scoring inning in the 5th when they got a single by Phillips and a 2-run home run from Marlon Byrd. Outside of that, the Reds did not have more than 1 runner on base in any inning except for the 5th. And Lohse retired the last 7 before giving way to Jonathan Broxton. But as we mentioned, that really is nothing new for Lohse against the Reds, whether pitching for Milwaukee or St. Louis. As that one has popped up to the right side of the infield for out number 1 in his career against the Reds. Lohse an 8-5 record with an ERA in 21 starts of 2.69. And there you see, identical that ERA. His career against Houston, those are infrequent now. For many, many years, they were regular. Tampa Bay, interleague play, Philadelphia. Another team he used to pitch for. That's who the Reds traded Lohse to when they dealt him away after really a little more than a year wearing a Reds uniform.
Yeah, he didn't have much time in Philadelphia either. In fact, that year was 2007. He went and he started 11 games for the Phillies, but he signed with the St. Louis Cardinals the year after that. And that's when he reinvented himself really for the first time, from a 4-seam power pitcher that used to dial it up in the mid-90s with a hard slider like a lot of other guys who were with a gifted arm. And that's when he bought into the Dave Duncan philosophy of living and dying by the ground ball. He scrapped his 4-seamer for the most part, made it his secondary pitch rather than a 2-seam fastball that he would run down around the knees and get a lot of ground balls and use that defense. And he had some very good years with the St. Louis Cardinals.
Well, a pair of pop-ups for Lohse to begin this one, and a pair of outs as that's handled in foul ground by Maldonado. Short time with the Reds. ERA up over 4.5. The Reds did not have good teams those years Lohse was here. But ever since then, very, very impressive.
Well, it almost seemed like you could tell a game with Kyle Lohse when he started by watching the radar gun early in the game. If he was able to hit 93, 94 miles an hour on a particular night, he was destined to have a good night because he could overpower the opposition. But you don't always have that. So on those nights he didn't have as good stuff, he didn't have good results. He turned that around by adopting a different philosophy of pitching. And now he's really adopted it now. He no longer tops out even more than maybe 91, 92 at the tops. So it's always adding a little bit, subtracting a little bit, moving it in and out, up and down. He's become a real pitcher.
Ball one to Joey Votto. And that one in the air, well hit into right center field. Drawn on the run. Goodbye, Votto. His first hit in 5 games, and it drives himself home.
It's almost like Joey Votto is just sitting on a breaking ball. And look at the location of that pitch. Down and away, on the knees, on the black. But he put such a good swing on that ball. Marks it out of here, and the Reds have one on the board.
Votto had gone hitless in 4 straight games, which matched the longest streak of his career back in August of 2009, and that home run ties Votto with Adrian Gonzalez of the Dodgers for the National League lead. 7 of them.
You know, Votto's the only batter in this lineup the Reds have tonight that have had really a measure of success against Loesch. They get him a batting average over 300. He came in right at 300. Had hit a previous home run against Loesch. Everybody else is around 260 or lower. So the Reds are relying on him to get the job done tonight.
2 balls and a strike to Todd Frazier. Frazier, like many of the Reds, had a good solid night last night. Frazier was on base 4 times without a hit, was 0 for 1, but walked 3 times, stole 2 bases, scored 3 runs, was also hit by a pitch. Second baseman Gomez will handle this one for a second time in the inning. And that's the end of 1. But the home run by Votto puts the Reds in front 1-0.
How the batter's eye here gets illuminated by the sun. That's what the hitters have to see when they're trying to figure out fastball, curveball. And this is one unique ballpark because this is the only ballpark that I know of where the left field is the sun field during the summertime, and we have a nice crisp clear day today, sun setting, and it casts that brightness over the batter's eye. Gets a little more, I guess, accentuated as you get into the deeper into the summer. But still, right now, batters will tell you that it's not an easy place to hit here in the first few innings of a ball game. Made even more difficult by facing Johnny Cueto.
Straightaway center field will back up Billy Hamilton to the warning track. Adam Lynn hit that ball a long way. But it's a long, loud out. 4 straight set down by Cueto. Well, Jim Day, you have something to add to that as well, do you not?
I actually was talking to Todd Frazier right before the game about that very thing, the batter's eye, and he said you hardly have any chance until that sun goes down. He said that every breaking ball looks like a fastball. And don't think Johnny Cueto doesn't know that, particularly against Ryan Braun. You saw him going mostly with off-speed stuff. He says it just looks like a fastball, and you have barely any chance unless you're Joey Votto.
Good point. Slider in there on Aramis Ramirez. And that one got a piece of it.
Now, Johnny Cueto has faced Aramis Ramirez more than any other hitter in Major League Baseball but one. And Ramirez has had his way over those course of those at bats. He's batting over 350 against Johnny Cueto, a guy that figures this will be his last year in the major leagues. And I would think if you're evaluating this Milwaukee roster, looking forward, thinking, oh, well, you know, there's some trade pieces here that they may have to deal between maybe now and the trade deadline if they're thinking about rebuilding, if their season doesn't improve in a hurry. Aramis Ramirez might be the first one to go. Team could use a power hitting third baseman down the stretch.
Straight up in the air off the bat of Logan Schaefer. Frazier into third base coach's box for round number 2. So now the catcher Martin Maldonado, playing regularly for the injured Jonathan Lucroy, is on the disabled list with a broken toe, which he suffered against the Reds in Milwaukee last week. Maldonado 1 of 3, walked, knocked in a run, scored twice last night, trying to surprise everybody, and he did offer at that pitch. 1-1 to Maldonado. Gone swinging Maldonado, and gone are the Brewers. Ramirez hit by a pitch. Reds lead 1-0 after an inning and a half. Jay Bruce last night had a home run. Of course, he had the grand slam when we were in Milwaukee last week. And he has always done major damage to the Milwaukee Brewers. 27 home runs, 70 runs batted in his career. Both are the most against any other team for Jay Bruce. Jay to lead things off. Got his 4th home run of the year last night. Came with a man aboard. Bruce capped off a perfect night. That was his first at bat, the home run. He walked, scored, walked, a sac fly, RBI in the 6th, walked again in the 8th inning.
You know, Jay has had a career of being very hot and being very cold. I mean, there's really not a whole lot of in between. But if you talk to hitting coaches, former hitting coaches, scouts who used to be hitting or big league hitters or former big league players, they'll say, you know, what he does is the most common ailment that plagues every hitter. You just fly open. Flies open with his hip, flies open with his front side. If he can just keep that closed, he can start hitting that pitch, really driving it to left center field and then getting the hanging breaking ball or the hanger and driving it to right center.
On the ground to the glove side of Hector Gomez. One away here in the Reds' 2nd inning with a 1-0 lead. If you're just joining us, Joey Votto, a home run to right center field in the opening inning. Brandon Phillips picked up his first extra base hit of the year last night. Brandon 1 of 5 at a run scoring double off a left field wall in the 6th. Reds were actually out hit last night, and that was primarily due to the fact that the Brewers came up with 4 runs and 4 hits in the 9th inning to take what was a rout, seemingly a rout, at 9-2. They made it 9-6 and actually had the tying run at the plate when Aroldis Chapman struck out Ryan Braun to end it. One and 2 to Brandon, and it's off the outside corner. Marlon Byrd due up 3rd here in the Reds' 2nd inning. Playable on the right side of the infield. Lind called off by Gomez. That's a 3rd pop-up handled in these first 2 innings by the Milwaukee 2nd baseman. The Milwaukee defense presented by Ford. We mentioned Parra goes over to left with Ryan Braun back in the lineup tonight. Gomez a nod at second base, and he's been busy. He's handled 4 of the 5 outs recorded by Kyle Loesch. Braun's been bothered with some pain in his side, overall body soreness. Did not start the game last night. As Byrd lifts one off the end of the bat into shallow center field. It's Gomez again. It's a 4th pop fly Gomez has handled through the front 2, where the Reds lead 1-0.
to you by Elk and L. Worst records in Major League Baseball since August 20th of last year. On that date, the Brewers were 2.5 games up in the Central Division in first place. And since then, a Major League worst, 15-41, a .268 winning percentage. You look at the others in Major League Baseball who struggled over that time. The Brewers finished 8 games back after being 2.5 games up on August 20th of last year. So it's been a struggle for Ron Renicky, and as you boys talked about last time in Milwaukee, he is definitely on the hot seat, and he got that dreaded vote of confidence from ownership, which many times could be a vote of better get it in gear.
Hector Gomez leads off the Milwaukee third with the Reds leading 1-0, and this time it's Brandon Phillips' turn to handle a pop-up. The only base runner for the Brewers came in the second inning with 1 out. Ramirez barely nicked by a pitch on the inside corner from Cueto. So now it'll be the pitcher Loesch with 1 out and nobody on in the third. Cardinals have dropped 2 in a row. They lost the last game to these Brewers on Sunday. That was Milwaukee's only win in that 3-game series. And Cole Hamels delivered big time for the Phillies in a win last night. That fly ball will chase Bruce just short of the warning track, 2 away. Of course, and those two teams will get together again tonight.
There's a lot of speculation, Tom, with the Cardinals having lost Adam Wainwright seemingly for the entire season with an Achilles tendon operation forthcoming for him. And Cole Hamels has been on the trade market block for a long time. A lot of people are speculating that one way or another the Cardinals will figure out a way to get that left-hander out of Philadelphia and into St. Louis.
That ball is kissed right there by Segura, but the deepest part of the ballpark. Warning track in center field, hauled in by Hamilton. Boy, in the summertime, that baby's long gone. But 1-0 here on this cool night. Name pitcher that is going to miss some time. Well, Brandon McCarthy out for the year. Boy, he resurrected his career, did he not, last year after leaving Arizona and going to the Yankees?
You're right about that. Let's hope that the guy on the right, Homer Bailey, is not out for the year, although Brian Price did not sound real optimistic in his post-game comments when asked about Homer Bailey. Said that he's not going to be pitching anytime real soon. So let's hope that that sprain that he has in his elbow mends on its own and that he can deliver the Reds some pitches this year. They were certainly counting on him after signing him to a long-term deal to deliver the goods regularly for a long time. But Cole Hamels, you know, is a guy that now all of a sudden probably has a lot more interest. The Phillies are probably fielding calls from maybe the Dodgers, maybe the St. Louis Cardinals, and all the other usual suspects too.
Well, Jim Day, you have always maintained a rather close relationship with Homer Bailey, as Johnny Cueto shoots that one into right field, and Johnny has his first hit in 7 at-bats this season. And I know that Jim, you and Homer had a chance to chat for a little while before the game today.
Talked very briefly. He didn't want to talk to a group of media, but he said that he pretty much knows what's going to happen, and we will find out as soon as they're ready to release that. Now, Brian Price, before the game today, even sounded less optimistic. He said we're not going to announce anything 24 hours from learning about this, that they want to weigh their options. But he did mention one of the options being the long-term option, that dreaded S word, and that being surgery. So that did come out of his mouth today. That is one of the options that they are going over right now. But it seemed to me, just talking to Homer, that they have made the decision. They just haven't announced it yet.
Well, whatever that decision may be, obviously sooner rather than later generally seems to be the wise choice, because if you're talking about, and we don't know, but if you're talking about an extended period of time being gone, you do it sooner, that means you get him back sooner, hopefully. 2-1 to Billy Hamilton. Reds leading 1-0 on a Votto home run in the first. Billy popped up to the second baseman Gomez, leading off the Reds' first inning. Cueto about a 2-step lead over there at first. And that one into short left field. The Brewers had it played perfectly. Now Zach Kozar. Cozart fouled out to Maldonado, the catcher, in the first inning. He has Cueto at first with 2 away. Votto hoping for a chance on deck here in the Reds' third. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Loesch v. Cozart.
You know what Loesch is able to teach you, and if you're a young pitcher at home, or if you're a young pitching coach of young pitchers at home, Kyle Loesch is teaching you that with nowadays a sub-major league fastball, and he only dials it up to maybe 90, 91 now. But if you can throw the ball in the right spot, hitters will get themselves out. And he's just peppering that low and outside part of the strike zone with fastballs and breaking balls to just about every right-hander that comes up. Teases you with a little bit something just off the plate. Never throws 2 pitches, same speed, same spot, back to back.
Segura to his left, and he'll just tap the bag, and that's all for the Reds in a third. They get a base hit by Cueto. We move to the fourth with the Reds leading 1-0.
summer in Cincinnati by visiting T-Mobile All-Star Fan Fest, the world's largest interactive baseball theme park. It's at the Duke Energy Convention Center, July 10th through the 14th. Purchase your tickets now at allstargame.com. I'm Jim Day. We talked about Homer Bailey going to the disabled list, and to replace him in the rotation will be none other than Michael Lorenzen. He will make his major league debut. Now, Homer's spot in the rotation is Thursday, so this comes with a catch. Lorenzen will make his debut tomorrow as you look at his bio and his numbers at Louisville. Since Lorenzen pitched this past Friday in Louisville, the Reds thought it better to pitch him tomorrow and move Mike Leake back a day. Leake will pitch the first game in Atlanta, and we are all excited to see this kid, Michael Lorenzen. And guys, what an ascension to the big leagues. He pitched just 44.2 innings in college and 161 innings in the minors, and now he's making a major league debut. Quite an ascension.
Well, I think, thank you very much, Jim. I think, Chris, you and I both agreed that he had pitched well enough, and it certainly opened enough eyes where you would have been very comfortable with him starting this season in the starting rotation for the major league club.
Well, there are a lot of guys in big league camp that have big league stuff, but there are fewer that have big league stuff combined with good stage presence on the mound. I've always thought Michael Lorenzen just acts like a big leaguer. I mean, he passes the eyeball test from that standpoint. I think one of the reasons that the Reds drafted him where they did is that they were very intrigued with Lorenzen's stuff. Obviously, he's got a fastball that can and has in the past touched 100 miles an hour. Now, he probably won't be pitching anywhere near that tomorrow, but it's the fact that as a reliever in college, he didn't have a lot of innings on his arm, and that makes a difference nowadays.
Well, as Jim mentioned, he only pitched 44 innings at Cal State Fullerton. Now, like Raisel Iglesias, the Reds will keep an eye on the number of innings this entire year, whether they be with the big league club the rest of this season or whether they be back in AAA. On both of those guys, especially Iglesias, who has not pitched competitively in 2 full years.
Yeah, the question is, though, what is the right number? And how do you get to that number?
Well, you and I had that discussion with Jeff Pico that day before Lorenzen pitched in a spring training game. And he likes the idea, you know, without Lorenzen. I mean, Lorenzen's not going to throw 220 innings this year after throwing 128 last year. They're not going to let him do that. But Pico made the comment that, you know, we're going to let the eyeballs be the judge on whether or not this guy's starting to lose stamina or lose stuff, and let hitters tell us a little bit about it, which is a little more old school thinking, don't you think?
I think it is an old school thought, and I think the other thing that is open to at least discussion in that is that if you're going to let him pitch, say, 170 innings or 150 innings, whatever that number is, when are you going to allow him to pitch those innings? April through July? Or maybe take some time off in the middle of the season, then bring him back down the stretch run if you think you're going to. I mean, if he really pitches well, or Iglesias comes up and really pitches well, or any young kid who is coming up here the first time, and you're thinking, man, we'd really like to have that guy late August and September if this ball club is in it. We really need a rush. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to pull somebody up who has had a little bit of big league experience and is throwing mid to high 90s?
Off the end of the back, Cozart a long way to get it. What a play by Cozart. They had the shift on the left-handed batting. Lind went back to where he's normally stationed and made a nice throw in a 1-2-3 inning. Reds still lead 1-0.
Brandon Burris from Cincinnati will win that beautiful new Tundra on display at Great American Ballpark. Register for your chance to win at an upcoming game by seeing your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. Here we had one earlier, but not quite enough to get it to that Toyota sign to win Mr. Burris the Toyota truck.
Votto back in the first inning, accounted for the only run of this game. He launched one to the seats in right center field. We mentioned that Votto had matched his career long in a dubious category, of course, for Votto without a base hit. 4 straight games until he clubbed that home run his first at bat tonight. Two and 0 the count on Votto. And now 3 balls and no strikes. Frazier to follow. And then Jay Bruce.
You got to figure that Kyle Lohse is feeling like he can't give up too many runs here to the Reds tonight. Anytime you're facing Johnny Cueto, you know your margin of error is very slim.
Oh, he just missed out.
That sounded better than the first one.
It did. But just fractionally underneath it.
On a 3-0 pitch.
Yeah.
Now Lohse is just saying, here it is.
Todd Frazier settles in. He popped up to the second baseman Gomez to end the first inning. 1 run, 2 hits for the Reds. No runs, no hits for Milwaukee. We're in the bottom of the 4th inning on this Tuesday night at Great American Ballpark. Reds ended a 3-game losing streak with a victory here last night. A win tonight would get them back to the 500 mark at 10 wins against 10 losses.
I was just looking up, Tom, Joey Votto swinging at that 3-0 pitch. You don't see many hitters that want to swing at a 3-0 pitch. They figure a lot of times, I'll get this good a pitch on a 3-1 count as 3-0. But Joey Votto in his career has had now 16 at-bats on 3-0 pitches, 9 hits, and 4 home runs. So when he lets it loose on a 3-0 count, he's got a pretty good chance of not only getting the base hit, but knocking one out of the ballpark.
First strikeout of the night for Kyle Lohse. Well, tomorrow night we have our next episode of Reds Weekly. We'll look back on the weekend with the 1990 World Series champions. That was a great reunion here over the weekend. Pete Rose will compare players from his era to players now. Jeff Piccolo, Doug Flynn will bring you Reds Weekly tomorrow night at 6. And again, a reminder, we are televising the game tomorrow. That was originally a radio-only game. But now all of a sudden we'll be delighted to bring you the Major League debut of Michael Lorenzen. That's a 12:35 game here tomorrow. We'll get on the air right at 12:30. No pregame show tomorrow. We just come on the air at 12:30 and let her rip. That is a foul ball. Chris, I thought you might want to come down here early and maybe get us warmed up with about 10 or 15 minutes of Tech Talk live down on the field.
That'd be great. Who do you suggest I interview tomorrow for Tech Talk? You know what we haven't done, and I did a lot of these down in spring training, had never had a chance to catch up with Jason Marquis. But
he would be a good,
be very interesting.
I love the article, and I can't remember who wrote it during spring training. You know, Marquis was part of that staff when he first came to the major leagues with Maddox and Smoltz and Glavine, and of course Glavine and Maddox went into baseball's Hall of Fame last year. Smoltz will this year. Boy, Bruce jumped all over that pitch. Slams it into right field for a 2-out single.
Well, Bruce finally gets a pitch on the inner part of the plate and up, and you can see the difference in how aggressive that swing is. Down and away is the spot they wanted to get him. That ball got up, and he put a pretty good swing on it.
Brandon popped up to his counterpart, his first trip tonight. 1 run now, 3 hits for the Reds. And a 1-0 advantage here in the last of the 4th inning. The Reds are going to see the Atlanta Braves starting on Thursday in a 4-game series, and the Braves are just pummeling the slumping Washington Nationals again tonight. This ball hammered straight away center field, and Brandon, his first home run of the year.
Boy, he got a whole bunch of this one. You go right out the front door with a high fastball. Loesch challenged him, and Brandon was there to drop the head.
Marlon Byrd now the batter. He's down a strike. A 3-0 Redlegs. Votto, a 2-run home run in the first. Phillips, who picked up his first extra base hit of the year last night. It's home run number 1. He now has 10 runs batted in, and a 3-0 Reds lead. We're talking about Atlanta. And more importantly, I think for a lot of people, Washington is in dead last. 6 games under 500. They are 8 games out of first. This ball's hit hard into deep right field, and Byrd goes back to back. Both of Marlon Byrd's home runs this season have come against Kyle Loesch.
He just throws a 4-seam fastball. It's almost like Loesch is giving in by saying, hey, I'm just going to throw it up there with 4-seamer for you. And Marlon Byrd, who is plenty strong, goes Oppage there to drive it out of here.
A 3-run 4th inning, a 4-0 Reds lead.
I don't know if maybe Kyle Loesch decided to do something different this time through the order, but that was a high 4-seam fastball that he threw to Brandon, home run. It was a high 4-seam fastball he throws to Byrd, home run. Of course, the home run by Joey Votto was a curveball in the first inning, but I mean, he looked like he was having them eaten out of his hands pretty well by keeping the ball down and away, changing speeds.
The first time through the order, he only allowed 2 hits. The home run to Votto and a 1-out single just dumped into right field by the pitcher Cueto.
Just goes to show you that not everybody can pitch up in the zone, and not everybody can pitch down in the zone. You know, Tony Cingrani, very successful throwing the ball up in the zone. Bartolo Colon up in the zone. Other guys have to live down around the knees. And Loesch has been in his career both of those guys.
And now a walk to Brian Pena. will allow Cueto to bat. The first 2 hitters were retired in this inning by Loesch. He got Votto on that 3-0 swing to pop up into shallow center. Struck out Frazier, made him look bad. But then Bruce tomahawked that high fastball into right. Phillips a home run to center. Bird a home run to right center. Walk to Pena. And now Cueto singled his first time up. Looks at a pitch high, ball 1.
By the way, Tom, that Washington National Atlanta Brave game where the Braves have just jumped all over the Nationals. That is A.J. Cole making his major league debut. He's the hotshot pitcher that they have down in their organization that they have big hopes for down the road. He's given up 9 hits and 9 runs. Only 4 of those are earned, but he's the one that made the error.
And errors have been a big problem for the Nationals so far this year, at least in a number of games where a lot of unearned runs. Same thing again last night. I mean, they are playing ugly baseball. They've lost 6 in a row. See, 25 pitches and not quite finished yet with this 4th inning is Kyle Loesch. Falling behind Cueto, 2-0. Fly ball to left field on a 2-0 pitch, and that'll do it. But the Reds break out the lumber again. They get a 2-run home run from Brandon. And right behind him, Bird to right center. 4-0. Reds in front. Town for a big 4-game weekend series. That'll be part of our Super Saturdays, which means the first 25,000 fans in attendance receive a Johnny Bench Stars of the Queen City bobblehead presented by John Morrell. 513-381-REDS. Visit select Kroger locations or reds.com/tickets. You talked about the run support that the Reds have given last night's starter and winner, although he didn't need much last night, Jason Marquis, and the 25 was the total for Johnny Cueto in his prior 12 games. Look what they've done for Marquis in 2. That one is blasted to the seats and left way back by Aramis Ramirez. So the first hit and the first run for a guy who in his career for whatever reason has just gone to town against Johnny Cueto.
You know, it's amazing, and that's why a lot of people really believe in the trends that statistics will show you. And Aramis Ramirez, as I remarked earlier, the only guy in this lineup with a better than .350 batting average lifetime against Cueto. Everybody else he's pretty much done in. but he serves it right up there to Ramirez. So is it all Ramirez or is it part Cueto to Ramirez? You just don't know that. But if you make a mistake at Aramis Ramirez, that he can park it. That is his 6th home run career against Cueto.
And every home run that Aramis Ramirez hits in his career, he'll just keep moving right up that order as far as all-time major league leaders for home runs as a third baseman. That is his 367th. He's 6th all-time. His next one, he will move into a 5th place tie with Greg Nettles. And the only 4 that would then be front in of Ramirez all time: Michael Jack Schmidt, the pride of Ohio University; Eddie Matthews, former Milwaukee Brave; Chipper Jones, lifetime Atlanta Brave; and a guy who's had an incredible career and just keeps right on rolling is Adrian Beltre. It's pretty good company.
You're not kidding.
And that is strike 3 called on the inside corner. Schaefer doesn't like it.
There are more and more of these Reds pitchers throwing that dual two-seam fastball that starts off the plate and comes right back in to catch the corner. And that did catch the corner. That's our flamethrower of the night, brought to you by Cholula Hot Sauce. Johnny dials it up to 93 there.
Martin Maldonado struck out his first time up. Reds with a 4-1 lead here in the top half of the 5th inning. Just reared back and fired 94 right by him, up and in. Phillips plants, plenty of time with Martin Maldonado running, 2 out. Cueto without a walk. He's hit a batter, allowed the 1 run and the 1 hit. The only 2 pitchers in the National League with more strikeouts through nearly the first month of this season would be James Shields, he now of San Diego, and Clayton Kershaw, who will pitch later tonight, trying to avenge a 3-2 loss against a man he'll face off with again tonight, Madison Bumgarner and the Giants. Dodgers winning the opener of that series last night. Bird waiting, inning over. A home run by Ramirez gets Milwaukee on the board. We've played 4.5, and the Reds with a 4-1 lead. other MLB games in action tonight. Highlights from around the league. Plus the latest on everything going on in Baltimore and how that affects the Orioles. It's mind-boggling how it is affecting the baseball team there. Of course, that's all secondary compared to everything else. That'll be tonight at 11 right here on Fox Sports Ohio following Reds Live, or over on Fox Sports 1. Top of the order for the Reds. They own a 4-1 lead over Kyle Loesch and the Brewers. Hamilton 0 for 2 has popped to second, flied out to short left. Billy actually one of the few Reds who had any degree of success against Loesch when he twirled that gem against the Reds last Thursday. Billy reached base twice in that game. Bunted, Ramirez will throw. Got it. And the bunt has not been a weapon the early part of this season for Billy Hamilton.
That was a pretty good bunt too, but you're looking at one of the better defenders over the course of a career. He doesn't give it away all that early. Bis Ramirez just makes a nice play right there. Scooping, firing, one motion, got him by a hair. Yeah, even though you make it out that way, I mean, he popped up through the second baseman his first time up. He flew out through the left fielder his last time up. So what's the difference? I mean, you shouldn't put that weapon away and stick it in your pocket and forget about it just because a guy made a good play on you. Next time those two may run into each other out there trying to make that play. I would like to see him use the other side of the field on a bunt occasionally too. A real drag bunt rather than a push bunt.
Cozart is fouled out to the catcher Maldonado and is bounced out to the shortstop. Nice to have a good luck charm with us here in the booth tonight, apparently. Up from South Carolina, young Mr. William Crotty. You know, he is a student at Wright State University, where apparently he is a film major. And one day, who knows, Chris, maybe we'll be up here interviewing him about his latest blockbuster that he directed or produced or wrote or whatever he chooses to do down the road. Still a student, he has time to figure that part out.
We hope so.
But he shows up in the booth and all of a sudden the Reds get 2 home runs there in the 4th inning.
All right, he's not going anywhere then.
Now Votto got a strike. Joey, a home run to right center in the 1st inning and just missed on a 3-0 pitch. Took a huge swing and slightly underneath it. Ended up a fly ball to center field. Reds only had 3 hits and 2 runs in 7 innings against Loesch less than a week ago. Tonight 4 runs and 6 hits, and we're just in the last of the 5th.
Yeah, very similar really to last night's ball game, although Jimmy Nelson, who pitched the gem in Milwaukee, just got wild last night. Really walked himself into problems and then was wild inside the strike zone too. But it has certainly helped the Reds hitters. Seeing these pitchers recently has not helped the Milwaukee Brewers pitchers nearly as much, or hitters as much.
Well, Loesch went there to get strike 2, and he was hoping that would be strike 3. Instead, it's ball 1 with 1 on and 1 out to Votto.
You just get the feeling with the way Votto swung the bat off Loesch tonight, even though you get him 1 ball 2 strikes, you don't have him where you want him.
You're right. Hooks it into right field ahead. That'll send Cozart on his way to third. So now the Reds knocking on the door of adding to this 4-1 lead. They're on the corners. Votto 2 hits tonight.
Well, after a slow breaking ball in the dirt, a fastball in, and just did not get it in enough for Joey Votto not to be able to put the wood on it. Well, he brought his hands in, shortened his swing. First and third they go.
Frazier tonight has popped to second base and struck out swinging. Brewers got good work out of their bullpen by and large last night. Nelson had to leave the game after 2 1/3 innings, and so the rest of the way, Wooten, Cox, Smith only allowed 2 runs over the final nearly 6 full innings. 1 ball and 2 strikes on Frazier. Of course, their 2 big guns in their bullpen are Jonathan Broxton and Francisco Rodriguez. You brought up earlier about position players that might be enviable as far as teams wanting to try and make a trade. Those 2 guys in the bullpen, I'm sure other clubs will have an eye on them if it comes to that for the Brewers.
Yeah, normally those bullpen guys are traded every year. I mean, you see a team needing to bolster, they just need 1 guy. They need 1 more bridge to get to their closer. They go out and get a guy like Jonathan Broxton. Frazier fouled off a pretty good teaser pitch right there. See if Loesch goes back out there 1 more time.
That's where he struck him out the last time. That one stayed up. Cubs and the Pirates are underway. Cubs winning the opener of that one last night. Cubs are playing good baseball. They're 4 games over 500. Pirates coming off a sweep over the weekend of Arizona before losing last night at Wrigley. 2-2 pitch.
Pull the string on a changeup. You can see the waving fingers on the sign that Martin Maldonado gave to Loesch, and then he also gave another sign. He says he wanted it down and away, and that's exactly where Loesch threw it.
Well, now Bruce taking a long look around the field, and the Brewers are going to put on the big shift. Bruce has said that he would consider putting down a bunt if the situation was right. You don't know if he's thinking about that right now. He's starting to swing the bat better.
This is really kind of an old-fashioned shift. Not much of a shift. Third baseman's playing way off the line, and the shortstop's playing up near second base. But we've seen the Pittsburgh Pirates with, guys over here against Jay Bruce.
Jay 1 of 2 in the game tonight. Line 1 to right for a base his last time up. Loesch working him away to begin this at bat. It's 1 ball and 1 strike. Cozart with a single Went to third and a base hit by Votto. Loesch coming with one out. And Loesch getting the big strikeout of Frazier. One and two.
Now, when you get a pitch called on the corner like that for Loesch, now what he's going to do to Bruce is just expand that zone a little bit. You see where he wants to go. And the one pitch that he threw up and into Jay Bruce, he got ripped down the right field line. So I doubt that he's even going to mess with that and just go right back to that same spot, blowing away. Why wouldn't you?
Went out there again and missed low. I'm not sure he's thrown a strike in this at bat, at least according to Fox Tracks. Although he's been rewarded with 2 of them in this at bat by Rob Drake, the home plate umpire. They're going out there again. Lind will back up behind Votto at first. Joey gets started on this 3-2 pitch with 2 away. Cozart over at third. Oh, he left one over the middle of the plate that time, and Bruce fouls it straight back.
Yeah, it's been off speed after off speed after off speed.
Once more, a 3-2 pitch coming. Loesch to Jay Bruce. Runners at first and third, 2 away, and here it comes. Straight up in the air. Segura, the shortstop, will be called off by the Gold Glove winning left fielder Parra, and that will end the inning. 2 hits, 2 left. We played 5, and the Reds lead by 3. Johnny Cueto on top of his game again tonight. He's only allowed the 1 run on 1 hit. That was a home run by Ramirez. This is a broken bat, and going out to get it is Cozart. And Loesch retired on 1 pitch as a Brewers bat here in the 6th inning. Only 2 base runners, and it's been the same guy. Ramirez hit by a pitch his first time up, barely. And then he clubbed the home run on the first pitch in the 5th inning. Cueto, you may remember, threw a career-high 125 pitches his last time out. They gave him an extra day of rest. Rather than bringing him back on 4 days, they went ahead and made it 5. There's a fly ball to right field, and that's out number 2. We'll have our Miller Time moment coming up a little bit later on tonight, and that's presented by Miller Lite. Cueto tonight only 58 pitches, and here we are 2 outs into the 6th inning.
Yeah, that's a little more than half as many as Kyle Lohse's thrown. Well, that must be somewhat quiet and almost demoralizing in that dugout for Lohse to make it out and then go back in that dugout. The way that the Brewers are going right now, you look up at the scoreboard, they've got 1 hit. And they got Cueto on the mound dealing. This is when April can seem like September.
Well, you know, there's a difference between starting, you know, we were talking about the Nationals a minute ago. You know, it's one thing to be 7-11, 7-12, 8-13. It is an entirely different animal to be 4-16 into center field, and the Brewers are gone in order in the 6th. Phillipsburg, Pena coming up. Cueto rolling has a 4-1 lead. Ohio brought to you by Meyer. By your local Ford dealer, Ford, go further. And by Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the country on the U.S. News and World Report's best children's hospitals in America. For Jim Day, Chris Welsh, and our entire Fox Sports Ohio crew, Tom Brenneman from Great American Ballpark. Our producer is Josh Hall. Our director, Brian Hunterman. Jim Mueller and Matt Sigafus are associate producers tonight. We're with you for 145 Cincinnati Reds baseball games over the course of this 2015 season. Reds are hoping a championship season.
Including tomorrow afternoon.
Including mañana.
A late addition to the TV schedule.
Of course, we just had one rained out. And so we're making up for that one. They got washed out Saturday. And it's really a special treat that it just happens to be the major league debut of Lorenzen. That ball lifted down the left field line and out of play. Phillips homered for the first time this season. In the 6th inning, it came with Jay Bruce aboard.
Well, Michael Lorenzen's start, you know, we got all excited and we're very interested to watch him pitch every time he took the mound in spring training.
Yeah.
Just the buzz that he created in camp during the early part of camp when pitchers were doing live batting practice.
That ball hit hard by Brandon, but right at Schaefer. Follow each and every Reds game right here on Fox Sports Ohio, and then stick around afterwards for Reds Live, brought to you by Performance Kings Honda. That'll be coming up after the game tonight. With Jim Day. Jim's hanging out downside the Reds dugout. And then he'll make his way over to his second residence, the Fox Sports Ohio condominium along the third baseline. Phillips and Bird went back-to-back with home runs in that 3-run 4th inning. Tonight is only the second time the Reds have scored 4 runs or more while Johnny Cueto was still in the game over his last 14 starts. So he's hit the lottery here tonight.
Well, he came into the ball game tonight with a run support average that was 6th worst in the league.
Bird sends that one to the track in right field for out number 2.
But he's got to be getting used to it by now. I mean, last year, even though he was a 20-game winner, 20-9 last year, and an earned run average of 2.2. But Johnny Cueto was only given 3.5 runs per game to work with. That was 11th lowest in all of the National League. Pitch number 101 for Kyle Loesch.
Now Brian Pena. He has fly to left field and drawn a walk, and he'll fly out to left field again in a 1-2-3 inning. That's the second one of those tonight for Kyle Loesch. We march to the 7th. The Reds with a 4-1 lead over the Brewers.
Celebrating 13 years. Watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in true HD on over 400 mobile and connected devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. I'm Jim Day. You know, the players spend a lot of time at the ballpark, and there are tons of imitations done in their spare time, including this little nugget we caught today a little after 4 o'clock. This is Todd Frazier on the mound, and we were wondering if he was imitating some other pitcher. But as it turns out, I talked to him afterwards, and he said he was imitating himself. If he were a pitcher, that he would do everything he could to push off that rubber as hard as he can. Now, my question, Chris Welsh, who does Tech Talk, how's his form?
I like his form. Reminds me of the form that he had when he was pitching for the Toms River Little League in the World Series in Williamsport, Pennsylvania.
That one is hammered into right field by Ryan Braun on the first pitch of the inning. That's the second time the Brewers have done that tonight. They're only 2 hits. They're only 2 runs on the first pitch of an inning.
Ryan Braun got a couple of days off, and he did come in to pinch hit last night. Struck out to end the ball game against Aroldis Chapman. He gets one pretty much right down Broadway. Looks like a changeup. Maybe it was a slider that just kind of backed up for Johnny Cueto, and Braun was all over it.
Look at that grab by that fan in the stands out there as well.
Nice backhanded catch.
Well, this game is a long way from being over now. It is the 7th inning, and it's only a 2-run spread. I mean, Loesch has not been nearly as good as he was last week, but he found a way to get out of that big jam in the 5th. When the Reds had a 4-1 lead and they had a chance to really just bust the door down, and now all of a sudden Lynn shoots one the other way, and the tying run will come to the plate with nobody out in the 7th inning.
Well, that was a pretty good bit of hitting by Adam Lind. But if you're going to shift on him, you can't throw him a low outside fastball, because you can see that was his intent to take that ball the other way right there. Lynn played in Toronto the last few years. He's probably talking to Joey down there about Joey's hometown.
Well, now you have the man who has done so much damage against Johnny Cueto more than any other player in the league, and has done damage against him tonight. Aramis Ramirez clubbed a home run to left field his last time up. Johnny's going to get him this time. Short right field. Bruce coming in and to his left. One gone. Logan Schaefer coming up. And Cueto has still not reached the 70 pitch mark in this game, despite being 1 out into the 7th inning. You know, it's a play earlier this year, Chris. We saw Votto break 4 when Phillips was behind him, and Joey would maybe be a half state late, and that ball would trickle into center field. This time Votto stayed close to the bag holding the runner, and Phillips went to get it.
But just so smooth. I mean, the question for most second basemen when you get to that ball, what are you going to do with it now? I'll tell you, if you're playing hoops for Brandon Phillips, you are always looking for the no-look pass, because all of a sudden that ball might be coming right at you. What an athlete. He's getting ready to go back to his hometown tomorrow night.
Yes, he is. And there's, oh, they called that a ball. That looked like a pretty good pitch to Martin Maldonado. And of course, Brandon still makes his home down there. His mom and dad live there, just outside of Atlanta, Stone Mountain, Georgia. Well, you retire Maldonado here. You keep it a 2-run game. You would have 8, 9, a pinch hitter, and 1 coming up in the 8th. 1-1 pitch. And he looked like he went around. Yes, he did. Johnny ahead at 1 ball and 2 strikes. Reds with a 4-2 lead after the Braun home run here in the 7th. Lynn, the runner, out at second base. And once more, Cueto wanted to make sure they're A-OK on all the signs with that runner out at second base. And now the 1-2 on Maldonado. St. Louis a 4-0 lead in the 2nd inning over Philadelphia. The Cubbies in front of the Pirates 3-0 in the 3rd. One and 2 on Martin Maldonado. And the Reds visit Atlanta on Thursday for the first of 4. It will be the first time in this 2015 season that they will play outside of their own division.
Or in 80-degree weather.
2-2 pitch. Got him swinging to end the inning. 5 strikeouts for Johnny Cueto. Gives up the home run to Braun. Middle of the 7th. The Reds in front by a pair.
May not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Johnny Cueto will lead things off as the Reds bat in the bottom of the 7th inning. Holding a 4-2 lead over the Brewers. Still Kyle Lohse out there for Milwaukee. He's given up 4 runs, 7 hits, 3 home runs, accounting for the 4 Reds runs. Votto a solo shot in the 1st. Phillips a 2-run home run in the 4th, and Bird right behind him with a solo home run. Johnny Cueto has a hit in 2 at-bats tonight. Cueto gone on strikes. We remind you, May the 14th through the 17th, the Giants are in town for a 4-game series. And thanks to our friends from Reach Family Magazine, you can take advantage of the Reds 4 for $48 ticket offer, where you get, for $48, those 4 tickets and 4 Reds hats. 381-REDS or visit Reds.com/4444. For 48, I beg your pardon.
You know, Kyle Loesch, when he was originally drafted in 1996, was a 29-round pick. And he's hung around now. His start tonight was 399 in the major league career of Kyle Loesch. From Hamilton City High School in Chico, California. He's a member of the Namlaki-Wintum Indian tribe. Back, I don't know if you remember this time or not. I do remember reading an article a couple of years ago that he was featured in an exhibit in New York, at the Iroquois Indian Museum in New York City in 2013, about Baseball League of Nations, a tribute to Native Americans in baseball. And he's been using that changeup very effectively. You know, the only inning that the Reds got to him really was that 4th inning when he decided to play power baseball. He tried to sneak a couple of fastballs by Brandon Phillips and then Marlon Byrne, and they both took him deep for home runs. And ever since that time, he's gone back to the off-speed stuff and been very effective.
Cozart, 1 of 3, singled his last time up. Michael Blazak, a right-hander, left-hander Will Smith. Smith pitches seemingly every day. They're ready in the Milwaukee bullpen. Loesch's spot due up 2nd in the top of the 8th inning. Cozart down to the right field corner. Foul.
There's the Brewer bullpen right there, and you got to figure that they're used to getting it up and going. I mean, after all, their starting pitching has a earned run average of 5.5, which is more than 1 run worse than the next worst team, which is the Giants, as far as the starters go, earned run average wise. Giants are 4-10. The Brewers are 3-14. Giants, however, have a few World Series rings to show for the last couple of years.
3 over the last 5. It's not too shabby. Cozart did not like that call. Loesch fans the side in his final inning of work. Cueto will get the ball in the 8th with a 2-run lead. inning started in the first inning. Joey Votto did not have a hit in the last 4 games. He changed that right quick with a home run to right center. Brandon Phillips, a 2-run home run in the 4th, made it a 3-1 lead. 3-0, I beg your pardon. Bird homered, making it 4-0. Cueto has allowed 2 solo home runs and has a 4-2 lead as we begin the top of the 8th. 74 pitches for Cueto to get through 7. Is the fewest by a Reds pitcher through 7 innings since August the 22nd of 2012, when Bronson Arroyo threw 72 pitches through 7 innings. Gomez with a count of 2-0. Brewers will go to their bench next. With a pitcher spot due up, it looks like Jason Rogers. Right-handed hitter. And a pretty good hitter. Rogers had a 9th inning base hit against Burke Badenhop. 2-2 on Hector Gomez. Got him swinging. Chased a high breaking ball, and that's strikeout number 6 for Johnny Cueto. Not a bad outing at all by Loesch, as Chris mentioned. 7 innings, allowed 7 hits and 4 runs, 3 of those coming in 1 inning on the back-to-back home runs by Phillips and Bird. Struck out 5 and walked about. Nothing and 1 to Rogers.
But with the start the Brewers have, and the fact that the Reds will not see the Brewers again until, well, the 4th of July weekend. That Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 4th of July being the Saturday. You wonder how different this Brewer roster might look then. You're not quite to the trading deadline, which is the end of July. But if they don't pick it up, I imagine you're going to see some players coming and going.
They certainly have some pieces that would be coveted by other teams out there. I think the guy that started the game tonight would be one of them. That is a rocket off the bat of Rogers. Saying this guy made a couple of errors in one game that we saw when he played at third base. He's been waiting for a while to get a chance to play in the big leagues, but every time we've seen him, he hits the ball hard.
Well, you're right, and it was almost unfair to put him down there at third base because he had primarily played, you know, drafted and played most of the time in the minor leagues as a first baseman and outfielder. Last year he did play a lot at third base and made a bunch of errors. He puts the bat on the ball.
2 down for Gene Segura. 0 for 3 in the game. Cueto in his career at Great American Ballpark. 10 starts against these Brewers. The Reds have won 9, lost 1. Cueto's 7-0. He's 3 outs away from 8-0.
Giants at GABP as part of Super Saturdays. The first 25,000 fans in attendance will receive a Johnny Bench Stars of the Queen City bobblehead. It's presented by John Morrell. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS. Visit select Kroger locations or reds.com/tickets. Johnny Cueto, 8 solid innings tonight. He's got a low pitch count. And this was the conversation coming off the mound with manager Brian Price and Jeff Pico, the pitching coach. Aroldis Chapman has since got up in the bullpen. They want to get Chapman some work. So Johnny C being done, not sure, but it looked like they were telling him, you're done for the evening.
All right, Jimbo, thank you very much for that. And there you see Chapman cranking it up in the Reds bullpen. He had to come on and rescue the Reds in the 9th inning. A 9th inning that began with a 9-2 lead last night. Chapman did not get a save, but he had to get the final 2 outs.
Well, I mean,
tying run at the plate.
If you're Brian Price and Jeff Pico, there are a number of different things you evaluate when you decide whether you're going to take Johnny Cueto out or not. Number one, you look at the pitch count. Where are you? He had 125 pitches his last time out. They gave him an extra day this time. I mean, can you maybe take a few pitches off of this pitch count and keep him stronger at some point down the season? That's, I'm sure, one of the thoughts right there. The other is you've got, pretty much a slam the door closer down there, and Aroldis Chapman is automatic as they come. But then on the other hand, you think, all right, well, there's not an off day here through the 4-game stretch in Atlanta. Maybe you want to keep him in there because you may have to use Chapman several times in this weekend.
That's why it was such a killer in a game like last night to use Aroldis Chapman, conceivably of what could happen tonight. And it looks like it's going to happen, where Chapman's going to come into the game. If you have tight games tonight, tomorrow, through the weekend in Atlanta, Johnny will not get that extra day's rest that he had this week, as Votto has gone on strikes against a new pitcher, Michael Blazak. Blazak, 7 consecutive scoreless appearances spanning 8 2/3 innings, where he's only allowed 1 hit. And opponents during that stretch are 1 for 27 against him. So this young man's throwing the ball well. Cueto, 38 strikeouts on the year and has walked only 5 batters. He did not walk a single hitter through 8 innings so far, and he's not been officially taken out of the game yet, although it certainly looks that way based on Jim's report and Johnny conversing with a number of his teammates after coming off the mound in the top of the 8th. Tell you one area about this Reds team we wondered about when the season began, and of course it would only be logical that you would wonder about it. They're starting pitching after trading away 2 really good pitchers. Latos was outstanding during his tenure as a Red when he was healthy, and of course Alfredo Simon was an all-star last year, winning 15 games. The Red starters this year have an ERA of 3.3. You'll take that all day, every day.
Better believe it.
Of course, we know the issues in the bullpen outside of Chapman and really Singron. Here's ball 4 to Frazier. Get ready for Reds action 30 minutes before the start of every game except for tomorrow. With Reds Live, it's presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. We added that game tomorrow. There will be no Reds Live pregame. There will be Reds Live the postgame. We invite you to join us for the Major League debut of one Michael Lorenzen, Reds #1 pick 2 years ago. Jay Bruce, 1 of 3, singled and scored in the 4th inning.
Couple of runs right here would go a long way to make the 9th inning a bit easier for Chapman. They keep trying to pepper that outside corner on Jay Bruce, and if you can get it out there, you might have a measure of success. The problem is getting it there consistently without making a mistake over the plate.
Hit off the end of the bat, foul on a 3-1 pitch, 3-2 to Jay Bruce.
Well, Blazek pitched a little bit in the major leagues in 2013. He started his major league career with the Cardinals. There was the team that drafted him out of high school in Las Vegas. 8 years in the minor leagues. Came over here and pitched the entire season last year with the AAA team for Milwaukee, and now he's on a pretty good run here at the big league level. Some fancy ink he has there on his left forearm.
Three-2, Frazier running and fouled back out of play.
Boy, just more and more off-speed stuff for Jay Bruce.
Pitch taken high, and back-to-back walks by Blazek after striking out Votto to start the inning. Brandon twice in 3 at-bats has hit the ball very hard. A 2-run home run to straightaway center in the 4th, his first home run this year. And then he lined out to the center fielder Schaefer, his last at bat in the 6th. Johnny Cueto, 8 marvelous innings again tonight. Boy, what a special pitcher he has become. You can count on one hand the true #1 aces, truly #1 guys that there are in baseball today, and Cueto certainly is one of them.
The feel that he has developed for pitching has been just wonderful to watch. He's always had a great arm, but just now how he just gets it. And he's taken upon himself to be a real leader.
That'll be a double play to end the inning. So here we go. Will it be Aroldis Chapman? Yes, it will. Seemingly every time he takes them out, that honor belongs to Johnny Cueto.
Yeah, Johnny's a happy guy right now. I can guarantee you that. 8 innings of 3-hit baseball. His buddy Aroldis Chapman on the mound, hopefully to close it out. And Johnny keeps getting continued good news from the Dominican Republic. Back in San Pedro de Macorís, where his mother had open heart surgery during spring training, Johnny left camp, and Christina is getting better and better every day, and Johnny hopes to have her in the States here in not too long. So that would be outstanding to see. It would also be outstanding to see Aroldis nail this one down and send the Reds home happy for the second night in a row.
That is great news for the Cueto family. And certainly our thoughts and prayers on her speedy recovery. Chapman did not earn the save last night. We mentioned you can't pitch yourself into a save situation. If he could have, he did. He came in, he hit a batter. He allowed a little bouncing ball that went for a single. And then when the tying run came to the plate, he put himself in the mindset of, we better get down to business. Struck out the next two to end the game. Chapman has not surrendered a run this season. Herrera will bat for Parra to lead off the inning. Ryan Braun next. He struck out to end the game, you may remember, last night. And then we'll see if they have Lind, a left-handed batter, bat against Chapman here in the ninth. Up and in, 2 balls and a strike to Elian Herrera, 217 batter, a home run. That home run came with the bases loaded against the Reds in Milwaukee last week. That was a week ago tonight. What a difference a week makes. The two teams combined for 26 runs last Tuesday night. They've combined for 6 here tonight. mph, strike 3.
He just had a feeling that he was setting him up for a fastball. Normally, pitchers set up hitters for a breaking ball. Chapman works in reverse right here after a couple of breaking balls. There's one across the letters, triple digits, 100 miles an hour.
Aroldis turns his attention now to the right fielder Ryan Braun. First pitch slider is ball one. One and one to Braun, and it's under the knees. 2 balls and a strike here in the top of the 9th inning. Reds got a home run from Votto in the first inning, back-to-back home runs in the 4th. 2-run shot by Phillips, solo home run by Bird. All the scoring tonight has come on the long ball. Braun homered back in the 7th inning. The first pitch thrown in that inning by Cueto. Ramirez homered on the first pitch thrown in the 5th. 2-2 on Braun, and now Braun wants timeout. Bouncer to Brandon, and the Brewers down to their final out. You know, you mentioned it about Johnny Cueto's mom. It makes me think to do something that I do every year, even though she has passed for many years. Today would have been my mom's 71st birthday, so happy birthday. I know you're watching.
Very nice.
Marilyn Brownie is celebrating a birthday today. 92 years young. Bless her heart.
And so is Josie.
Joe Zaragoza, the voice of the Reds.
You better believe it. You hear him when you come to the ballpark. And at this time of the ball game, what you hear are people cheering, stands it up on their feet, waiting for a strikeout to end this ball game.
Lynn digging in there against Chapman. It is rare you see left-handed batters that go up there toe-to-toe against Chapman. They hit for par to begin the inning, but Lind has been by far their best hitter this year. Chapman gunning for his 5th save in 5 tries. In 10 1/3 innings, Chapman has allowed 5 hits, no runs, punched out 18, and a strike away from number 19. Lighted down. Aroldis Chapman, a perfect 9th inning. Johnny Cueto spectacular on the mound as the two combine on a 3-hitter. Reds 4, Brewers 2. It's a final. We'll be back with more from Great American Ballpark. Reds win 4-2.